Good morning and welcome to Market Opening on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV. It's 9 a.m. and we're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. From the big overnight queues on Wall Street and global markets to the buzz around corporate earnings, policy moves and stock-specific action, we break it all down so you know exactly what to watch. Stay tuned as we track the sensex, nifty and the stories that will drive the market mood today, and catch us again at market closing with my colleague Sakshi Batra. So we've got you covered. First, let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space this morning. The world's largest economy is on the brink of recession. Global ratings agency Moody's has warned that states making up a third of US GDP are either already in or are at a high risk of recession. The downturn, according to Moody's, will be seen in job losses and big price rises. Applicants for US non-immigrant visas will not be able to escape queues in India by booking an appointment in another country. US had in the past post-COVID period allowed visa seekers to apply in an American consulate in another country. Indians would often fly to Thailand, Singapore and Germany to get their visas on time. It's a mega week for IPOs in the stock market, with as many as 9 public issues opening for subscription these 5 days. 3 main board IPOs include Urban Company, Dev Accelerator and Shringar House of Mangalsutra. Excitement is high, with the grey market premiums for the 9 IPOs shooting up to 110%. Customers are king in the auto market as car makers announce big price cuts after the slash in GST rates. Mahindra has already taken the plunge, others to follow 2 weeks from now. Car dealers in a bind as no rules have been released for the compensation cess already paid for cars in stock. All eyes will again be on the Ola Electric share price, which has fallen more than 13% in the last 2 sessions. The company auditor has flagged a serious internal control lapse in Ola Electric Technologies, one of the company's subsidiaries. Ola Tech generated most of Ola's revenue last fiscal. All right, let's take a look at the global market check first. Gold has hit a fresh all-time high, surging past $3,600 an ounce. Prices are up nearly 37% this year after a 27% rally in 2024, fueled by a weak dollar, easy monetary policies, global uncertainty leading to safe haven buying, and a central bank buying spree. As of mid-2025, central banks worldwide are holding close to 37,000 metric tons of gold, worth about $4.5 trillion. That's more than $3.5 trillion parked in US treasuries. So that's for the first time since 1996 that gold now makes up a bigger share of global foreign exchange reserves at 27%, overtaking treasuries, which stand at 23%. India also has quite a substantial sum parked here and has made that shift to buying more gold, showing economic stability as well here in India. In other global news, Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba has quit. He's resigned after election losses. Let's move across to that story. And some amount of positivity in the Japanese market this morning, because he is supposed to be a little bit more pro-growth. So there is some momentum picking up there on the back of that. Cost backlash waited for the US tariff deal before exits. Sanai Tekaichi has seen as a successor. Markets are reacting positively. Nikkei is up almost 2% in trade. Meanwhile, on the OPEC decision, the OPEC Plus agreed on fresh production hikes from next month. They've extended a shift towards higher output and have ended years of defending prices. So a minor uptick coming in there on crude as well. Let me welcome our guest this morning, Chakri Lokpriya, CIO Equities at LGT Wealth, joining us. Chakri, great to have you with us. It's Monday morning, lots of factors at play. Of course, global and macro factors continue to set the tone. What's your view on the Nifty and Nifty Bank as we head towards open this morning?
Good morning, Abha. Thanks for having me for your show today. I think, today probably India is on a better wicket as we open. Simply because of slightly more positive noises coming from the US and India on the tariff front, and all kinds of negatives at about a 50% tariff have more or less been priced into the market. So I think select sectors which are all the GST consumer discretion, like tires, autos, metals, steel, these kind of companies you'll continue to look positive.
That's right. In fact, slightly more friendly conversations, a friendlier tone coming in from President Trump when talking about Moody. That was the news over the weekend as well. So some amount of easing off there. It's a mega week, Chakri, for the primary markets, with as many as 9 IPOs hitting Dalal Street over the next 5 days. Now we know, of course, that a lot of action has shifted to the primary markets of late. But from a retail investor point of view, a lot of these are in the broader markets. Would you be looking at these as safe investment strategies? And are any of these on your radar? And specifically, I would say Urban Company, which is the larger one of the lot.
Urban Company kind of, while the valuations are kind of expensive,
Okay.
still they have some amount of business momentum on their side. But this is a market which, I wouldn't expect, investors shouldn't expect for those big bang type of returns that have seen in the past. And this is a time for, tempered returns, tempered expectations. And because the overall sentiment, while improving, needs to be cautious.
All right, so still holding out on some caution there. I know, Chakri, you described, of course, a lot of segments on the market that will see a boost on the back of, the latest reforms on GST, the macroeconomic factors, positivity now brewing that perhaps the Fed will cut rates. Are you then looking perhaps more positively at some of those names across, like you said, real estate, cement, steel, as safer bets, especially as we head into festive season where everyone's going to be looking, to buy in the markets right now?
You're right, Abha. In terms of, the GST cut has been timely.
Yeah.
In time for the festive season. So, whether the automobile companies, the front line, whether it's Maruti, M&M, TVS Motors, or even, the tire companies, clearly they benefit from any uptick in autos. And whether it is Seat, JK Tire, they'll also benefit simply because the tire companies, that is, because raw material prices for them have significantly come down. They're all crude linked, and oil is down about 15% over the last 12 months. So you'll have that margin cushion, and the valuations are on your side, and therefore tire companies and as well as OEMs look good.
Okay, talking about crude, minor uptick there. Chakri, post the OPEC Plus meet, any caution on that front with regards to crude prices?
Given the whole geopolitical tension about oil purchases, and therefore, I think US and its other allies will ensure that there is and OPEC will ensure there's an adequate supply of oil to keep the oil prices under check at about $60, $65. And also simply because, we are now we are in the US, back to school season where and demand for oil is actually quite high and heading into winter. So therefore, I don't think oil is really a concern about moving higher.
All right, great. Let's take a look at the market setup. We're just counting down to open now, a couple of minutes to go. Already set the tone. Chakri also saying market mood is going to be positive. Pre-market showing a marginal uptick as well. Let's take a look at what are some of the other stocks in news this morning. We've got BHEL with a 10-year exclusive MOU with Singapore's Horizon Fuel Cell. So that stock's going to be in the news this morning. We've also got Aurobindo Pharma. US FDA has inspected one of its units in Bachupally and issued some observation there. So we're waiting for a response from Aurobindo. So that's in the news as well. We've got PNB Housing Finance also in the news. Let's bring up PNB for you. Board has approved fundraising of about 5,000 crores. So that's going to be in focus on PNB. Let's pull that stock up for you as well, just up a little bit in pre-open. We've got Zydus Life Sciences as well. They've completed an inspection of one of their plants, and the company again has to address some amount of queries coming in there. Meanwhile, SpiceJet, in some news in the aviation space, has actually reported a 234 crore rupee loss versus 158 crore profit. Revenue also fell 34%. So even though, market share is also slipping for Spice, and in fact, Akasa, it's not listed, but Akasa has overtaken Spice to be the third largest player in terms of revenue. So that's the latest in the aviation market. Lots of stocks in news there, but keep an eye, as Chakri also mentioned, more importantly on some of those real estate names, cement names, steel names. Gold financiers will continue to be in the news on the back of the kind of uptick we're continuing to see on gold prices. That's going to be a hot area. Auto will continue to be in the news, and Ola Electric is the other one that we're tracking as well on the downside specifically. But these are the segments of the market we've been seeing playing out, and these are the ones that we're continuing to track this morning. So let's calm down. We've got just 5 seconds to go on opening bell today. And Nifty pre-market indicating a gap up. Let's take a look at what the screen is showing us as we hit market open this morning. Yes, about 0.3% uptick coming in there on the Nifty as expected. Let's take a look at the advanced decline ratio. Nifty Bank is flat. Let's take a look at the larger breadth of the market and really what's moving. Nifty IT is also decent this morning, looking good. Clearly shaking off any kind of news from Trump, sounding some warning bells for the IT sector and outsourcing. Nifty Consumer steady. We've got financial services about flat this morning. Let's pull up auto since there'll be a lot of buzz there. Nifty Pharma's up about 0.2% right now. We've got the auto pack, yes, looking strong. That segment's looking strong. And let's pull up some of those individual gainers, some of the top movers today, see where the action's really trending. Steel, you hit it on the nose, Chakri. It's the steel majors right on top this morning. JSW, Tata, 2 to 3%, both of them. We've got Wipro up about 1% this morning. Shriram Finance also looking good. BEL, Adani Enterprises, some of the other names that are running this morning, and Cipla. Let's take a look on the downside as well. Where is some of the lag coming from? The financials are sitting quiet today. No major cuts, but definitely not participating, and that's what's perhaps keeping the index lower as well. Perhaps a little bit of marginal profit booking coming in on some of these names. And also want to pull up Ola Electric for you, since we've been tracking that this morning on the back of that news regards its subsidiary. Let's just see if the company has counter has reacted negatively to that. It has been trending a bit lower in the last month or so. So some concerns around that one. Ola Electric this morning is actually absolutely fine, 2.5% higher. So we'll keep an eye on that. Chakri, I want to come to you on Ola Electric specifically. What is your view there? Because the stock has been trending lower. Some concerns, of course, with some queries raised around one of its subsidiaries. But otherwise, this morning, at least, it seems to be back on track.
You're right. A couple of things. One is Ola has significantly corrected from its listing. And second is, now more information about battery storage and other bits of its CV are coming to light. And, once you start ascribing a valuation to that, kind of brightens the picture. And of course, the things like the current audit do raise concerns. So I think we should approach it with a bit caution until we find out more about what is the audit query all about.
All right, so that's on Ola Electric. Chakri, when it comes to some of those steel majors, I'll pull them up again because you mentioned it this morning and they're top of the charts right now. I want to get a sense of which ones you're looking at, which ones are your favorites. What are some of the fundamental factors that you're tracking with regards to, what's really making it to the top of your list and from the steel pack?
Yeah, sure. Jindal Steel and Power, Tata Steel, JSW Steel, all the front line. They should all do well for a couple of different reasons. One is the valuations are on their side. They all trade about 5 to 6 times EV/EBITDA. The second is, domestic demand is picking up. And third, domestic prices are at maybe 5-6% discount to international prices. And on top of that, there is news that, China might curb production of metals. And if all this put together, I think provides you sufficient momentum for the stocks to move higher.
Okay. All right, some deal buzz this morning as well. We've got Adani emerging as a top bidder for debt-ridden JP Associates. Vedanta, has emerged as a top bidder. Adani has been outbid with that 12,500 crore NPV offer. So the deal is they're going to pay about 4,000 crore upfront and the rest over 5 to 6 years. So that's the big deal. Let me just pull up Vedanta as well this morning, and that's Adani for you, up about 0.8%. What are you making of this deal, Chakri?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow on the deal, so I wouldn't have much to say on it.
Okay, no worries there, but that's the news coming in. Vedanta right now is actually trending lower, but they've outbid Adani with a 12,000 crore offer, and that's for JP Associate, the debt-ridden company. The Vedanta's down about 2% today at this point of time. So we'll take a deeper look at perhaps the breakup of that deal and what it means for Adani going forward. We've got tire stocks in the news. Novama on Siet again upgraded as a buy. Chakri also talking about some of those tire names and how they stand to be positive as well. Let me also also focus a little bit on gold and the kind of reaction we've been seeing on some of those gold financiers as well. Chakri, from the broader markets, given that retail and specifically on gold, but I'm widening the question in case, perhaps you don't want to comment just specifically on this. We are expecting some amount of a retail buzz given we're building up to festive season. Gold and gold financiers, of course, top of the list, but we're also seeing the traction across the board in the broader markets and some of these retail counters. Are you tapping into that trend at all?
You're right. Gold has emerged as a very important asset class in the turmoil of the last couple of years, and the gold have hit record prices. And the beneficiary of that is one is on the financiers, whether it's a Muthoot, Manappuram, and these companies, because their collateral, their loan to values are significantly far more safer loans than they were, let's say, a couple of years ago. And also now they have sufficient room to lend more. Therefore, their AUM growth will be stronger. On the other hand, if you take jewelry demand, companies like Titan are extremely well placed because now you're going into the festive season, and after that, the wedding season, and all these things will further give a benefit boost up to consumer spending. So I think whether it's a Titan or a Muthoot, we're positive on both.
Okay, great. What about financials? Chakri? Let's pull up some of those names. A little quiet this morning, but within the financial basket, what's your strategy? What would you be looking at? Would it be some of the smaller ticket, not smaller ticket names, but the smaller themes like an insurance, the more niche plays, or would it be, the bigger heavyweights that we continue to bank on?
Financials across board are very well positioned, whether it's the PSU banks, the private banks, or some of the NBFCs like Shriram Finance. Now, and of course, you mentioned earlier in your show, PNB Housing, the housing companies again, would benefit from a further interest rate cut. PNB Housing also has a company-specific issue, rather a positive one, because they're raising some money, they announced over this weekend, and the CEO change has now been well triggered. So I think it'll look to move higher. The valuations are on your side. PSU banks, again, valuations of SBI, Canara Bank looking very strong. And consumer uptick because of the GST cut will benefit some of the private banks and PSU banks. So I think across board is looking strong.
All right, great. Let's take a look at some more brokerage reports. Of course, we've been talking about steel, and we've got some positive outlook coming in there. Nomura also on Swiggy. They've started a coverage there on Swiggy. That's a buy call coming in with a target of 550 rupees a share. They're saying that the food delivery business is on a steady profitability path, and that it will be a key cash engine. So they're actually looking at it quite positively this morning. So that's Nomura. And I also want to, while we're on some of these new age players, let's pull up Ola Electric again, because the stock just seems to be climbing this morning despite news around that audit. So clearly either some amount of buying coming in at lower levels, but the stock today is up about 4%. So Ola Electric definitely won in the news this opening trade. All right, let's also pull up some other news for you. The US President, Donald Trump, has said that the immigration raids on a Hyundai plant last Thursday have not harmed his relations with South Korea, adding that he would look at what happened to the manufacturing facility in the state of Georgia. In a post on Truth Social, he also asked all foreign companies to please respect American immigration laws. Hundreds of workers at the plant were detained in a raid by US authorities on Thursday, stopping work on a plant that is one of the Korean automakers' major investments in the US. So this clearly created a lot of uncertainty as well. So that's the latest. Let's listen in fact, to Trump's comments on this.
So I'm going to look at that. It's a very interesting situation that took place in Georgia. And we heard about it yesterday. At the same time, ICE was doing right because they were here illegally. But we do have to work something out where we bring in experts so that our people can be trained so that they can do it themselves. Does that make sense? A great relationship with South Korea. Really good relationship. We just made a trade deal. But I'm going to look at it because I understand exactly what they're saying.
All right, so continue to make news there for all the wrong reasons. That's Trump for you. All right, few other pockets of the market. Chakri, I got to ask you about real estate stocks because I know you touched upon it earlier, but want to go a little deeper there as well. From a structural standpoint, that's clearly looking positive. The real estate index today is also higher. We're seeing top movers like a Brigade, for example. Let's pull up DLF and Prestige, see how some of the other names are doing this morning. But talk us through your theory when it comes to real estate, Chakri.
Whether it's Brigade or Prestige or even Shobha on the real estate, on the residential side, they're all looking good for a couple of reasons. One, now with the inflation expected to come down even more further after the GST cuts, so that gives the RBI to cut rates by an additional 50, 60, 50, 75 basis points, more than what was expected earlier. And when that happens, and that's going to be likely to be front-loaded, and if that happens, then the cost of buying for real estate would come down. The cost of borrowing comes down fairly significantly, and that adds a significant boost to both commercial real estate as well as residential real estate. So whether it's a Brigade or Phoenix, who's seeing a good commercial uptick, or even Shobha on the residential front, I think they're all worth looking into.
All right. Okay, so real estate and, Chakri's clearly mentioned, pretty much a positive call across the board there. Also on some of those housing finance companies from the financial pocket, that's also looking attractive. Cement, steel, of course, naturally in line with that entire play as well. Okay, small cap index a little muted this morning. The defense index is flat. We've got, let's pull up some of the buzzers from the broader markets and just take a look at how market mood is shaping up. Oil and gas index just partially higher right now. Remember the OPEC Plus meet has also, of course, come through, and some amount of an uptick on the back of that. Adani Power right now seeing some amount of traction. Rajesh Exports, Bharat Forge, but it's the steel majors that are really making news this morning. Steel Authority of India. We've got Sterlite Tech also moving. PNB Housing, also some news there. Vedant Fashions, that one's up about 2% or so. Keep an eye on the auto index as well, that continues to buzz, and Ola Electric from some of the individual stock movers continues to be a big move this morning as well. So those are some of the news makers for you. Chakri, before we wind up the show, let me get just one closing comment from you as well. We're counting down, of course, to Diwali. It's that time of year. What are you anticipating on the index?
Given that, we've all kinds of negative news which are priced in.
Yeah.
I think if any positive news comes, such as, removing an additional tariff, that opens the room for good earnings upgrades, and therefore the markets will move much higher. Even in the current context, I think, the Nifty will move at least 5-7% higher before the end of this year towards Diwali. And if the Trump tariff additional is 25 is removed, they move much higher.
All right, great. Chakri, thanks so much for joining us on the show. That's all we could pack into this edition of the Business Today show, but do stay tuned. We'll continue to track all the action for you at market closing. Thanks for watching.